One day were Twilight and Spike in Canterlot after that Twilight had been invited by Celestia over to some tea. But even though Spike wasn't really much interested in having a tea, so he decided to just take a walk around the town. While meantime, Twilight and Celestia didn't mind that. And since it was a warm day, he chose to buy an ice cream to cool down. And after he just got one and walking around minding his own business, by accident, he literally walked into some pony and he dropped his ice cream on the ground. And he immediately apologized for not not seeing where he was going. Oh, it's fine. I'm I'm I should probably keep watching where I'm going too. And Spike saw it was a mare that he hadn't even seen before. Oh, I'm sorry I made you drop your ice cream. Let me buy you a new one. No, you don't have to. Please, I insist. So the mayor did that. Afterwards, she introduced herself as Sunny Flare. Oh, well, it's nice to meet you, Sunny Flare. My name is Spike. Oh, I know who you are, she said with a big smile. I mean, you're Twilight's #1 assistant, aren't you? Uh, yeah, that's right. I thought you were easily recognizable. Well, that and I am the only dragon who lives in Canterlot. Well, in Potterville for the most part. Good point, said Sunnyflare. And they actually start talking, and without a moment, they started walking along the street together, talking and having a good time. Sunnyflare told Spike that she was actually from Canterlot, and she hadn't even really much been seeing him much at all in town. Well, Spike said that, well, that's the reason that since I kind of moved to Ponyville all those years ago with Twilight. Yeah, that makes sense. So, what brings you to town this time? She asked. Oh, Twilight was invited by Celestia for some tea, but I choose to just take a walk by myself. Oh, so you're not much of tea? Oh, no. I'm not against tea itself, but just I would decide to let them talk alone so they were, have some quality time to spend time to each other. And yeah, so I thought about maybe just walking around by myself. Ah, that makes sense, said Sunnyflare. So, what are you doing for type of live for living? Spike asked. Oh, um, well, I'm actually working at this candy shop. Oh, yeah, I'm actually kind of new to it though, but I like it. Oh, um, do you have any favorite sweets? Spike asked. Um, chocolate, I believe. Well, doesn't it anyone? That made her laugh. It's like, yeah, makes sense. I mean, because like, chocolate is a very popular sweet overall population. Spike just nodded and said, yeah, that's true. They actually spent the whole afternoon together, just get to know each other. And when Spike went to the castle, Twilight asked him how his day had been. He said, oh, that has been actually not that bad. I mean, I spent a lot of time with a new friend. Oh? Who? Her name is Sunny Flare. Sunny Flare? I don't think I recognize the name. Well, she's from around here and just, well, then that you didn't usually get out of castle when you was living here, didn't you? Twilight rolled her eyes and said, yeah, you have a good point in that, Spike. By the way, Celestia had invited us to stay over by night. Yeah, I can do that since, it's getting a bit late. After they actually had dinner with Celestia, Spike went to his guest room and just lay in bed, just staring at the ceiling. He was a little bit unhappy lately. Just before he and Twilight went to Canterlot, he had confessed his feelings for Rarity. But unfortunately, as he didn't expect it, she told Spike that she didn't like him in the same way back, only saw him as a friend. Spike took it a little bit hard, but after a while, he actually had moved on. But Twilight told him that one day he will find some pony to be with. But the next day, Spike actually ran into Sunnyfair just only about an hour before they were supposed to leave town. Oh, hello there, Spike. Oh, Sunnyfair? I didn't see you there. Well, at least this time you didn't walk into me. That made her laugh and like, you got me there. So, what are you up to today? I'm going back to Ponyville with Twilight today. Oh, that's a shame. Why? Well, I had hoped to maybe get to spend more time. You know, have a good time, get to know each other better. I have a day off, and I was thinking if you wanted to go to the bowling alley. Oh, I can always ask Twilight if I can come back home a little bit later than the usual. That would be great. So both actually went to the castle, and by lack of chance, Twilight was actually outside, and he asked her and introduced her to Sunnyflare, and even they had a short conversation, and for lack of Spike's turn this time, he actually was given permission to stay as long as needed. He could always go back to Ponyville the next day if he wanted. So, after Twilight had left, he and Sunnyflare went to the bowling alley to just have a great time. Unfortunately, he lost to Sunnyflare against her with having 190 points and that Spike only got like 100. That sucks. At least you give you the best to try. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. I'm getting hungry. Do you know any good place nearby? Actually, I do. Come on, I'm gonna show you. She actually went to this small restaurant, but it's actually owned by Saffron Masala. Oh, wait, I heard about this place from my two friends Pinky and Rarity. Oh, you have? Yeah, but I haven't been here yet. Going to them is going to be a great experience. Have you been here? Oh, yeah, a couple of times. Actually, very good food. Come on. Masala actually they recognized Sunfair almost immediately, and they got a table and just having a good time. And during the conversation while they were having their lunch, Sunnyflare asked Spike if he was dating some pony yet, considering how polite he has been, very generous and kind. But he said no. He said that he was in fact interested in one mare, but she told him that she didn't like him and only as a friend, and that he took it very hard. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's fine. I mean, I moved on. What about you, though? Well, to be honest, I just recently ended a relationship. Oh, yeah, I was dating this stallion for about 3 years, and I find out only about shortly recently that he had been cheating on me with another mare for 2 years. Every single day for 2 years. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. Did he give you any reason? Well, he said in his words that he was more attracted to the other mare than me. I was only being used like a side piece, or side girl. How dare even to do that? I mean, you're beautiful, you're very smart. Thank you. I mean, if I were dating you, I would not be treating him like that. In fact, I wouldn't. Well, you're a true gentle colt, aren't you? She said with a big giggle. You bet. And then, suddenly, Sonny Flare did ask Spike if he wanted to go out. He wasn't actually very expecting that type of question, but he actually said yes. So they decided to go out the same evening to a restaurant. That evening, Spike was a little bit nervous. After all, this was actually his very first date ever. But since they had to get to know each other for the past 2 days, and they had learned a lot about each other, so it wasn't any much awkward for any of them. They actually had a great time. But sadly, since Spike had to go back home the next day, but she actually was at the station with him and gave him a kiss on the cheek and said that she had a great time yesterday and hoped to see him soon. And they actually maintained contact by letters. But after a couple of weeks, he had a surprise visit by Sonny Flare in Ponyville. She was actually wanting to see him for a couple of days, and it didn't take long for a real romance to spark between Sonny Flare and Spike. And after a couple of weeks after the first date, they were officially dating. And when Spike had told this to his friends, they were all excited, included Rarity. Even though that she felt a little bit hard, to been too harsh to him, but he said, I understand, Rarity. Don't worry. I mean, I have Sonny Flare in my life, and I'm pretty sure you will find us great stallion to be with. And he was right, because eventually Rarity would end up being dating Fancy Pants, and they were actually quite a match for each other. And the relationship between Sonny Flare and Spike, it only blossomed further and further along stronger for each single day. Despite them unable to see each other so often that they wanted to, but at least they didn't live that far from each other. And if Spike wasn't having any particular big plans for the day or the rest of the week, he actually decided to go back to Canterlot to spend time with Sonny Flare. And during the shortly into their relationship, when he was in Canterlot, he actually was introduced to some of her friends and even her family, and they were all actually supportive to their relationship, considering what happened to Sonny Flare and her ex-boyfriend. And one day, when Spike were with Sonny Flare in Canterlot, they actually ran into her ex-boyfriend. And somehow, he thought that she was still single and asked for a second chance. It turned out he wasn't aware she was already in a relationship, and assumed Spike was just a friend, because in his mind, or in his belief, she wouldn't even date another species rather than a pony. But she told him that Spike is her new boyfriend, and that she would never going to go back with a cheater, despite how what she found out, and he had been cheating on her for 2 whole years, a majority of their relationship. And even though he took that a little bit angrily, but Spike told him calmly, you shouldn't have done that. It's your loss. And after all, I'm pretty sure you will find a more beautiful mare to be with. And Spike was probably right, because last of all what Sonny Flare heard, he did find another mare to be with. And Sonny Flare has always been happy that Spike stood up for her, and even defended her if it will even come to that. And the relationship between Spike and her only gets stronger for each single day. There was like an unbreakable bond. It was really unrecognizable, but it was just a great time between them. And the fact is, Sonny Flare was actually invited by Twilight to celebrate Heart's Warming Eve with her and Spike in Ponyville. she accepted the offer. And she even stayed until like New Year's Eve as well. She and Spike had a lot of great time during that holiday. They had a lot of snowball fights, even built snow ponies, and just having a great time. But most of all, having hot cocoa by the open fire in the school at the castle library. One day, Spike went to Canterlot to spend some time with Sunnyflare, but she wasn't aware that he was even coming. Then, when he saw her at the cafe with a stallion, just having a good time, laughing, talking, and afterwards, he saw that the stallion gave her a kiss on the cheek and a hug. He was heartbroken. He left before even she could even see him. He took the train back to Canton to Ponyville, and she actually wrote a letter to Spike asking why she hadn't seen him for a while. But those letters, he didn't answer them. She got a bit worried eventually and went to see him in Ponyville. When Twilight saw her at the castle door, she was actually surprised because she wasn't aware if he was even coming to visit. But what she found out, wait, I had no idea what you were even talking about. Wait, Spike, is someone here to talk to you? Twilight yelled. Alright, I will be down there in a moment. But as he was halfway down the stairs, he saw her, and he turned around and just walked up again and said, "Tell her to leave, I don't want to see her." Both Twilight and Sunnyflare looked at each other stunned. They're like, what? She even asked Sunnyflare if something had happened. And she had no idea what could have been happened. So they both actually went up to the Spike's room, who had the door open. When he saw them, he said, "I don't want to see her." And she literally said, "Spike, sweetie, don't sweetie me, cheater." What did you say? "I know what you did. Don't deny it," he said. "I never cheated on you." "All right, as I saw you with that stallion about a week ago." "What? At the cafe in Canterlot?" he said, almost cryingly. "Spike, that was a friend of mine." "Don't deny it," he said. "No, it's true. My friend is not even into mares." "What?" "That is my friend. He is into stallions. He is not even from Canterlot." "Well, he is from Canterlot, but he moved away, and he was in town for a visit to see me. So we hadn't even seen each other for a while. And he told me that he found a stallion they have been dating for a while, and it was pretty much getting serious for him to even get married. He wanted to tell me the news directly." "So, you assuming me cheating on you? You shouldn't. Don't do that before you know all facts before then," said Sunnyflare almost cryingly. And Spike for once felt like an idiot. "I'm so sorry. I just assumed that you were no longer interested in me." How can you even say that?" she said. "I really cared about you. You treated me so kindly compared to what my ex did." Twilight said to Spike, "Spike, you should never do that. You never should assuming into the worst before even have all the fact, all the info before you make that assumption. You know this, if you had, you could have ruined your own relationship with Sunnyflare. It's clearly how much he means to you." "You're right, Twilight. I'm sorry. And I was actually in Canterlot at the time to see you and visit by surprise, but I saw you and I shouldn't have stopped and asked you directly afterwards who they were and not make a false assumption. I'm so sorry, Van Sunnyflare, but I understand if you don't even want to be with me anymore after I make that assumption and that accuse you. And Sunnyflare just stood there silent and said, Spike, it's okay, I understand. But yes, you should have talked to me before. And I accept your apology. Spike was just happy that he was so close to have to jeopardize his relationship with Sunnyflare. But at least Bolt was happy it didn't even happen. She even gave Spike a hug and a kiss on the cheek. From that day on, their relationship remained strong. 10 years later had passed. Spike took Sunnyflare to the park where he proposed and she said yes. All the families and friends were just so excited. And they decided to have a small wedding actually. Sunnyflare had asked Twilight to perform the ceremony and to have her. And even had asked Rainbow to be her maid of honor since they had become good friends. Spike had asked Big Macintosh to be his best man. They actually went to have a small wedding ceremony out there near castle. Afterwards, they actually went straight to the honeymoon to Saudi Arabia for 2 whole weeks. And they just had an amazing time. Eventually, Sunnyflare did actually moved to Ponyville. She started working with Bon Bon at her candy store. And just about 2 years after they got married, they found out they were expecting a baby, a boy. And a few years later, about 4 years later, they actually even had a son. Another son. Both were just happy to be parents to 2 beautiful boys. Even after all this time, Spike was just really happy to have found his true love within Sunnyflare. Even after all those years ago when he first met her, he could have been happier. Even Sunnyflare couldn't have been happier to be with Spike. And this is how Sunnyflare and Spike found a true love and got a big family together. The end.